Hey everybody, welcome back to Young Engineers of Today. Um, how was everybody's weekend? Did you have a good weekend? Do anything fun? Good to hear, John. Mine was pretty good, pretty good. I hung out with some friends. I hate and played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, but it was pretty good. It was relaxing. Thank you. Well, I hope you guys are ready to continue with Fusion. Oh, glad to hear it. Okay. Hope it was pretty relaxing too. Um, Hope you guys are psyched for more fusion, because that's what we're going to do. We had that nice break with gravitational waves, but we're right back to that bookcase. And let me just think about what we did last week. I believe we put all the tabs on everything and created all the slots for those tabs. And that was, we made it so it was ready to go for placing into a stock and cutting it out of the stock and all that good stuff. So we did like all of this business right here. And not just that, we mirrored it and we created the back tabs and the side tabs and brought out the things and cut all the holes. It was quite the ordeal. As you can see, slide 160 exactly. There's a lot of slides in this presentation, and it's not entirely done yet. So 100, or it's like 240 so far. There's a lot to making this bookcase and getting it ready for cutting and everything. But it's mostly just because there are so many new concepts that are introduced. All right. Fusion is almost started up. So once it does, eventually, we'll go ahead and open up the project we've been working on. All right. So let's see here. We should be. Oh. It seems that mine did not save. All right, well, this is a good opportunity for a review. Haha. Let's see here. Looks like we don't have the back tabs or the side tabs on mine. Or I don't have the back tabs or the side tabs. I shouldn't say that about you guys. I don't have back tabs or the side tabs. Okay, well, let's spend some time reviewing. I can show you guys exactly what we did. So we'll dimension this stuff out as quickly as I can. All right. So remember that our tabs have, for the most part, been ply in their length. No surprise there, and they've also been tab in their width. With a lot of these, we've made them some distance away from each other. Usually it's the dimension that they cross. So like in this case, these are along the height of the bookcase. So in this case, it would be height divided by 3, like so. So these are height divided by 3 far away from each other, far away from the bottom, far away from the top, and they've been ply in length and tab in width. Didn't really anticipate that this was not going to be saved. I apologize. So same deal up on the top. This one was tab in width. However, this one was blind tab in height. Because remember, we wanted to be sort of sunk into the top, but not enough that you could see the tabs on the top. And then this was width divided by 3. Remember, this runs along the back of the bookcase, so we're looking at the width of the bookcase along this dimension right here, whereas this is the height of the bookcase. And then after we did that, we just went ahead and extruded those tabs. Out to the other side, made them a new body, hit OK. So as you can see, the tabs now exist. Let me just go ahead and hide the other bodies. So the tabs now are here. And it was simply a matter of mirroring them over the other side. Mirror, mirror, mirror. Mirror plane, we'd select the construction plane up here. They got mirrored onto the other side. And then, once that was done, all we had to do was just combine them. Whoops. And then draw. Just like that. And that was how we did tabs on things like the back. So if we were to do this left wall right here, because I still have to do that because it didn't save it, creating a new tab was simply a matter of creating a new sketch, drawing on some rectangles, as well as some midpoint lines, until I've done this a couple of times. Turning these into construction lines, and then dimensioning them appropriately. Well, if you remember, these were also a height of blind tab, because these are going into the top, and a width of tab. Now these were a distance of depth divided by 3 from one another. Because remember, this is the front of the bookcase over here, and then this is the back. And then thanks to the mirror function, we only have to extrude on one of these. So let's go ahead and extrude these. 2 over here. Make it a new body, hit OK. I apologize, this is probably not the most exciting thing. I didn't realize that it wasn't going to save. Mirror these objects across the midplane. Hit OK. and then combine them. And then once we created all the tabs, because that actually that was all the tabs we have in this thing. Remember, there weren't actually any holes here. So there was material overlapping at these points. So first things first, let's go ahead and do a little bit more push-pull here, press-pull. And it was 1/2 inch, so that we had some extra material to work with. And with that done, all we had to do was cut out the holes. Now, cutting out the holes, if you guys remember, was done with a combine function. However, it was a little bit wonky how we did that. You notice how we've got operation down here, we changed it to cut. So the target body in this case would be whatever is getting holes cut out of it. So the target body here would be the top shelf, or the bottom shelf, sorry, if we wanted to cut the holes for the kick plate out of it. Tool body in this case would be the kick plate, and we wanted to make sure we kept the tools so that the hole would be cut. Now if we were to hide the kick plate, you can see that there are holes cut into the bottom shelf because we used that cut command. And then that process was simply repeated across everything that cut holes into it. Okay. 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 Oh, whoops. Right. And then finally. Okay. So now let's double check everything. If we did everything right, if we hide some of these, areas, we should see that there are now holes in them, and there are. So let's hide everything except for the top. Top has holes in it, perfect. The left wall and right wall have holes in them. The back has holes in it. The top shelf shouldn't have holes in it, and it doesn't. The bottom shelf has some holes in it, and the kick does not have any holes in it, which it shouldn't. So perfect. Now, with that little crisis averted, we can actually move on to the stuff that we're supposed to go over today, and that is continuing along with this bookshelf. Now, the bookshelf has exactly, the tabs and the slots and everything that it needs in order to, be constructed. However, we need to set up the means for it to be cut out of material. That involves laying it flat on some stock, creating, a stock for it to be cut from, as far as modeling is concerned, and setting it up so it's all ready to go there. So the first thing we're going to do before we do anything else is we're going to create a box. Let's go ahead and go up to Create, and then Box. Now, just like everything else, we've got a bunch of planes we can select from, as well as the actual drawing planes here. We're going to select this bottom drawing plane right here, this bottom one, because we're actually going to be drawing it on what you can imagine is the floor that this bookshelf is sitting on. It's not going to be a part of the bookshelf at all, not yet. We're going to make it though, but it's going to be drawn on the floor. So there, as you can see, the little box drawing tool is on the bottom plane. So we're going to start at the origin, and then just draw it out some. Again, it doesn't really matter how far out you draw it or anything like that, because we're going to worry about that in a moment. Okay. So here's the thing we need. The length, in this case, is going to be 48 inches. So you'll notice it resized itself to 48 inches. The width is going to be 96. Now, based on the thickness of all of these faces and stuff like that, all these walls and shelves and things like that on the bookshelf, what do you think the height's going to be? Any takers? Okay, so we did this a ways back, so it's okay. Remember that the idea is that all of these things are going to be cut out of the material, right? So the thickness of all of these, the shelves, the walls, the top, the back, the kick plate, all this stuff, has always been ply, right? So the height in this case is going to be the thickness of our stock. It's going to be ply. Now, before you hit OK, we want to do one more thing. The operation in this case is going to be new body. So we've got a length of 48 inches, a width of 96 inches, and a height of ply. The operation is new body. Just hit OK. And there you go. Now you got this nice like gray thing, and then the bookshelf looks like it's kind of disappearing into it, especially when you zoom out a little bit. But this box right here, this sort of weird flat box, represents the stock that we would be cutting this bookcase out of, and then subsequently assembling. So now what? Well, first off, we need to turn all of the bodies that we have. So if you remember bodies are all the little model representations of each individual piece. We need to turn all of these bodies into components. What's the difference? Well, essentially, bodies you can consider as static things. Bodies are simply just representations, three-dimensional representations of an object. On the other hand, components, well, components represent parts, just like their names imply. They represent parts of a larger whole, and you can do more with components than you can with bodies. So like if you were modeling a piece of machinery in Fusion, you can make all the parts components, and you can give them joints and stuff like that, so that you can say like, oh, this particular piece rotates around this other piece, and then it hits this piece and blah blah blah. So you can get a better idea of how everything's meant to fit together as like maybe a piece of machinery or something like that. We're going to take advantage of the fact that you can create more complex relationships between components than you can bodies, and use that to help create our sort of bookshelf in our stock. So what we're going to do is we're going to select everything. Just click the first one, hold down Shift, click the last one. So now all of our bodies are selected. And then this is in the browser, by the way. So under our list of bodies, I clicked top and then held Shift and clicked body 30, and so all of them got selected. Now I'm going to right-click on one of them. Get this little right-click menu. There's one option right here, though, create components from bodies. We're going to click that. And it's going to spend some time thinking about stuff. Uh-oh. The website. Student. I was afraid that was going to happen because we have been going over this for a while. There you go. Should be able to, you know, do the student account thing and everything from there, and then get Fusion 360 at least activated. You may not necessarily need to re-download it. Like once you create a student account there and stuff like that, you can log in using that student account, and it should continue to run. And this is being recorded, and we'll have sound, so we will be able to, you know, put it up. All right, so create components from bodies. That's what we just did. No problem. Yeah, hopefully that we get that up and running. You'll notice that all of the bodies have disappeared over here from the browser, and now we got a whole bunch of components. We got component 1, component 2, component 3. Wow, it gave them really unhelpful names again. So let's go ahead and rename those again to helpful things. So I'm going to double click, and it should give us a new, you know, a text box so we can rename it. We know this one is the top, so I'm going to rename it top. This one is top shelf. This one is the back. This one is the left shell or left wall. This one is the right wall. Oops, nope, that one's the kick plate. The importance of naming things. That one's the kick plate. This one is the right wall. I made an assumption there, and I shouldn't have. This one is the bottom shelf. And then this one is the stock. So now we've got them all named. Top, as well as top shelf, back, left wall, kick plate, right wall, bottom shelf, and then stock. And you notice that there's that colon and then the 1 after it. That'll just be there. That's okay. Don't worry about it. It should be there. That's part of the reason how we know it's a component, among other things. But anyway, they should be at least renamed, like, you know, more helpful things now. And if they do, fantastic. They are fantastic. So now what? We've got components. We've got them named helpful things. We need to somehow embed this stuff into this stuff. This stuff into this stuff. Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, we're going to do one thing first. We're going to make sure that the stock doesn't move anywhere. We're going to do that by right-clicking on the stock in the browser. And you'll notice that there are a few things here. Activate, ground, move, new component, create components for bodies, blah, 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 blah. We're going to select ground. You'll notice that if you look at the stock in the browser, there's a little pin in its icon, and the stock is also a darker color. Well, no, it's a darker color because I moved my cursor away from it. But regardless, there is this pin right here next to the cube in stock, on, you know, stock's place in the browser. That means that it's not going to move anywhere anymore. We can't, like, accidentally pick it up and move it around and place it somewhere else because we don't want it to, for a few reasons you'll see in a moment. And it also kind of makes our life easier when working with this. So cool. Now we've got the stock grounded. It's not going to move anywhere. Now we can start putting stuff onto other stuff. Hopefully that was vague enough for you. So once we grounded the stock, we're going to go up to Assemble, and then Joint. What does this do? Well, basically what this does is this makes one component basically a part of another. A part of another component. The whole idea behind that is you can sort of help keep things closer together or define sort of a relationship between them, spatially speaking, and a few other things. But basically, we're gonna create parts of the bookshelf as joints of the stock. What do I mean by that? Well, you'll see in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and I'm going to use the bottom of the top of the bookcase, so the bottom face of the top of the bookcase. You'll notice that if I mouse over the center here, this little strange little cursor I have just kind of snaps to it. That's good. We want to use the center of the bottom face of the top of the bookcase. It's really quite a kind of annoying to. There are so many modifiers on that, but anyway, we're going to use that. Boom. It's going to disappear. We're going to flip around. Now under type, I believe type is going to be planar. Yeah. Under type, we're going to select planar. So type is a little drop-down menu. We're going to select planar. Now for component 2, go ahead and mouse over the stock. Again, you're going to get the same kind of snap to in the middle of it. Good. We want to use the middle of the stock. Now click. It's going to move down there, and then it's going to kind of wiggle around, be all weird. That's good. We want that. Eventually, it's going to find its place right in the middle. And then we're going to do one more thing. We're going to flip it. So click this little icon right here next to flip, and boom. Now you'll notice that it is embedded in the stock. Excellent. Hit OK. And there it is right there. There's the top of the bookshelf. It looks all weird, like there's all this gray kind of phasing in and out. Again, that's because of the Z-fighting thing I was talking about, where this is on the exact same plane. This particular face of the top of the bookcase is on the exact same plane as the stock. So right now the computer doesn't know which one to render, so if we move it around, you can actually see it pretty well here. You get kind of like jagged gray, and it looks kind of weird. Anyway, we're going to ignore that for now, and we're just going to click the light bulb next to top in order to hide it. So we don't see it. That's fine. That's exactly what we want right now. So that's one part of the bookcase put into the stock. Next, we're going to do that with the walls. I believe we use the outside wall. Yeah, the inside. Okay, we'll use the inside. So let's do that process again. Assemble, joint, select the middle of the inside wall, or the inside face on the left wall. And it can be a little bit tricky, so you can just move around the view until you get it, like right there. Perfect. And then select the middle of the stock, and then it'll come down, wiggle around. Once it's done, click flip, hit OK, hide the left wall. Hope you're seeing a trend here. We're hiding the walls, or the bits of the bookcase as we place them in, so that they don't clog up our vision. Assemble joints, select the middle, select the middle. Again, this is with the inside of the right wall. It's going to move around, click flip, hit OK, and hide. Now let's do that with this top shelf here. Select the bottom of the top shelf. Assemble joints, bottom of the top shelf, middle of the stock, wiggle, wiggle, flip, OK, and hide. Now let's see here, which part of the back we're going to be using. Inside of the back, okay. It doesn't really matter too terribly much, but it's good to keep consistency. Alright, so assemble the middle of the back, the inside of the back wall as well. So as you can see, this is the front of the bookcase right here. Click, go down, wiggle around, click flip, hit OK, hide the back. Now we're going to do that with the bottom shelf. It's the bottom face of the bottom shelf, which can be a little bit tricky to find, but it should, hide it for you. There we go. click, bottom shelf wiggle, flip, okay, hide, and then the inside of the kick plate, so the back-facing part of the kick plate. Click, click, wiggle, flip, okay. All right. Once that's done, we can bring everything back so it's visible again. All in this mess, just kind of all on top of one another. Really not ideal looking. But that's okay, we're going to figure this out. So raise your hand if you're at this point. All right, I got a few hands. Raise your hand if you're still creating the joint relationships. Okay. All right, so far so good. All right, so now let's right-click on the stock. And down here there's selectable / unselectable. Go ahead and click that. So now, not only do we have the pin icon, we also have this little like circle with a slash through it. That means that we can't accidentally click on the stock anymore. It's just no longer selectable, which is good. We want that right now. Because here's what we're going to do. We're just going to drag these different walls and stuff like that into open areas on the stock. So as you can see, I'm just taking the stuff and just dragging it around. Actually, two of the bits are hiding. That's why it seems so easy. So here we're moving the shelves. Leave a little bit of space along the edge, so there's a little bit of open area. And you'll notice that you're not really able to fit everything in there nicely. There's, like, where's this going to go? Well, I'll tell you. Go ahead and click on a component so that it's selected. And then under Modify, go down to Move. So you should see this sort of little set of controls around it. If you select the flat ring, you can rotate it. So we're going to rotate this 90 degrees. Okay. Now we can drag it to a spot where it will fit. I'll actually do this one as well, just so it's a little less crowded right there. Okay. Cool. So with a little bit of wiggling and stuff like that, now we've got all of the pieces laid out on the stock. Excellent. Now things get a little bit more involved. And for that, I apologize beforehand. But let's go ahead and see what's coming up next. So we already did all this stuff, moved it around, no big deal. Now, this is where we are. And as you can see, there's multiple different ways that you can fit everything onto the stock. this is not the one true solution or anything like that. There are a few different ways. I even did it differently in the presentation. Now, here's the deal. These tabs and their respective slots are not exactly ready for construction. I know I've said that like a million times now, and I just keep jerking your emotions around. Like, this thing's ready for construction. Not quite. One more thing until it's ready for construction. Not quite. One more thing until it's ready for construction, and so on and so forth. There's another thing we have to do to these tabs before they're ready. And it's just one of these sort of basic tenets of this type of construction to increase the stability and the longevity of the bookcase. And that is to create dog bone fillets on each of these tabs. Now, basically, the dog bone fillet, whenever if somebody brings it up, so you know in the future, basically it just refers to a style where the corners of the tab are sort of rounded and stuck out slightly. Like, to use this example, so far, like, this orange line will represent the tabs that we have so far. And that's what we have. Just simple, straight up and out. So with a dog bone fillet, if we were to go back and look at this right here, let's get a top-down view of one of these. What the dog bone fillet is meant to do is it's meant to take these particular, or how you would make a dog bone fillet, rather. So you would take these particular areas and you sort of flare out the top like so. And what this does is this creates sort of stronger seatings between the tabs and the slots. Kind of like that, but much neater. And then likewise, there's going to be a little bit of this in here. It's going to look like, well, a dog bone, hence the name. And that's it. That's all. However, there isn't really any way to do that, to create those easily built into Fusion. Like, we can't just go, make a dog bone fillet, and it will go ahead and do that for us. Normally, what we'd have to do is we'd have to go on, okay, sketch, create a sketch right here, put in some circles, extrude, join the bodies, and then do that for each individual tab and hole on all of these, which would be amazingly tedious and time-consuming. So we're going to try and avoid that. Okay. Thanks, Fusion. There we go. We're going to try and avoid that. We're going to leverage the fact that Fusion has basically the ability to add features to it. You can expand its functionality. And we're gonna, add a new feature to Fusion. However, it's a little bit requires a little bit of messing around, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. First thing we're going to do is we're going to download an add-in for Fusion. Oops. Copy and paste. I put the link into the chat box. If you guys could go ahead and just open up a new tab in your browser of choice and head to that address, or whatever. Click on the link and open it up in the browser of your choice. So as you can see, it takes us to a GitHub page those of you who were in this class last semester should be pretty familiar with GitHub, at least on some level. Maybe not completely, but you should have seen stuff before. This is the wonder of the internet. Somebody just, made this and then uploaded it to GitHub, and now anybody who wants to use it can then use it. So what we're going to do is, once this page loads, you're going to download zip. So there's this button over here. Boom. That's the one you want. You want to download the zip file. Go ahead and click, and it will spend some time downloading. There it is. It should be super tiny, so it should download really quickly. Once that's done, go ahead and click on it. At least, since I have Chrome, I can just click on it to open it up. Here it is right here, in all of its unzipped glory. Or no, it's still, anyway, it's still compressed. Whatever. Now, this is where things can get a little annoying. Open up a new Windows Explorer window. So you can just do like a File Explorer. And it should open up a new File Explorer window. So we have two. One with our Dogbone zip file, and then one that's just my PC. Now I'm going to teach you guys a handy little shortcut. Normally, we'd have to do all this navigation, but we can cut that roughly in half by going up here to the address bar. So I can just type things in manually. And typing in %appdata%. We'll go ahead and put that into the chat box too. Just typing that in and hitting enter. And what that's going to do is it's going to redirect you to a spot inside of your user folder, inside of your application data folder, and then inside of a folder in there, so that we just have to navigate from this point. Normally we'd have to get to this point before we go any further, which is a big pain, but this helps to skip a few steps in the process. Now I'm inside my username folder, inside the application data. Find Autodesk in there and enter that. Then find Autodesk Fusion 360 and then go into that. Then find API and go into that. Finally, inside of API, we're going to go into add-ins. Double-click into there. Now bring back your Dogbone folder and just simply drag the entire folder over into the API. Into the add-ins folder, excuse me. Just like I have here. I mean, I have the zip file here as well, so I can just delete that. But see how I have the Dogbone file inside of this whole dealio? It's inside the add-ins folder, inside of API, inside of Fusion 360, inside of Autodesk, inside of roaming, inside of Appdata, inside of my username, inside of blah, blah, blah. It's like 15, not really, it's like 7 levels deep. It's really annoying to get to. Anyway, just drag it over. It should automatically unzip the file and place it into the add-ins folder, so you've got it right there. Raise your hand once you've gotten that done. I got one hand. Cool. I'll wait until we've got a few more hands. 2 hands. 3 hands. 4, 5, Just about everybody. Cool. All right. So, you've gotten that over into the API folder. Sorry, the add-ins folder inside of the API folder. I keep wanting to say API because generally that's the last stop, but it's not always. Now we're going to go back to Fusion real quick. Click Save. Hit OK. Please save it. Because we're going to close Fusion. We have to close and restart Fusion once we've done that. So I'm going to close it, hit Save and Quit. Follow my own advice instead of what I did last time, which is apparently just quit it without saving. It'll think about life and stuff for a minute. Cool. Just reopen Fusion. It's necessary so that Fusion can, because basically every time Fusion starts up, it looks inside of that API folder at add-ins and plugins to see if there's anything added, but it only happens whenever Fusion opens up. So it's not going to see it until we restart it. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and open our thingamadoo back up. And it's going to freak out at me. There we go. Close this down. So now we're going to go up to File, the drop-down menu under File, and select Scripts and Add-ins. It's this one right here. So now I got a whole bunch of scripts listed, and they're all Python. But we're going to click this tab up here labeled Add-ins. Should bring you to another area. Got this little plus sign next to the My Add-ins folder. Hit that. And it should bring in, you should see the Dogbone Master folder here. Open that up. I guess it's got two levels. And then there's the dogbone.python.py here. Select that and hit Open. And you should see the Dogbone listed right here. Well, somewhere in this list of add-ins. Mine is about third down because it's all alphabetically listed and I don't have any other ones. So you should probably be in the same place, but we shouldn't ever assume anything. So you should see the word Dogbone here though. So just go ahead and select it and then hit Run. And you'll notice not much has changed. However, there is a new icon up here. And that new icon is our little add-in. It's the Dogbone add-in. So now we can mess around with the Dogbone fillet. One more thing we need to do before we can start the Dogbone fillet. Go ahead and select all of your components. Right-click and ground them. So there. Now they're all in that position where they should be. Well, whatever position you put them in. but they'll stay there, which is the important thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the stock so that all we see are the parts of the bookshelf. Excellent. Finally, once that's done, I'm going to click on Dogbone up here. It's going to ask me the interior edges or the solid bodies. I'm going to select all bits of the bookcase. Just go ahead and select all of them. And then under tool diameter, I'm going to type in cutter. This is another one of the user presets that we set up. That's the one we want to use. We're going to, again, in case the cutter size changes, all we have to do is just rerun the Dogbone with cutter and then it'll be okay. But that's so we don't have to remember it. And then click this checkbox labeled Y up. Hit OK, and it's going to spend a while doing some calculations. It could be minutes, or it could be a minute, but it could be minutes depending upon your computer. It could take quite a while. So we're just going to let it do its thing, and we're going to leave that to be the last thing we're going to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the poll questions. In the meantime, while it's doing this, I'm going to ask the poll questions, and then we'll check up on it after that, and then we'll leave it open to question and answer time. And then we'll break. Oh, there's the first question.